Have a good weekend. Here's CBS.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. A hijacked Kuwaiti airliner is on the ground tonight in Cyprus under dramatic and dangerous circumstances. Arab gunmen are still holding about 50 terrified and exhausted hostages. Earlier today, the hijackers forced the plane to circle for 3 hours over Beirut airport as they traded death threats with airport authorities. Day 4 of the drama began at the airport in Iran. From London, correspondent Tom Fenton picks up the story.
The Iranians finally allowed the plane to be prepared for takeoff after the hijackers beat a passenger, threatened to shoot a passenger, and tossed a grenade on the runway. Kuwait Airways 422 took off at mid-afternoon. Aboard were some 50 hostages, including 3 members of the Kuwaiti ruling family. The plane headed west over Turkey as one airport after another refused landing permission. Then it turned east for the traditional haven of hijackers, Beirut Airport. But Beirut Airport is no longer as friendly to hijackers as it used to be. The Syrians are in charge there now. They sealed off access roads and blocked the runway. Late in the afternoon, the plane swung into view over Beirut. The pilot frantically seeking permission to land, the passengers hysterical. The pilot began a desperate dialogue with the control tower. Pilot, a gun is pointed at my head. I request landing permission. Tower, we have been for 14 years under gunfire. Pilot, if you fail to clear the runways, we will land in the sea. Tower, do whatever you want. Crash on the tarmac or in the sea. We shall not let you land here. It went on for 3 hours until, with the plane dangerously low on fuel and the hijackers threatening to crash into the control tower, Larnaca Airport in nearby Cyprus relented and gave clearance. As he headed for a safe landing, the pilot told Larnaca Tower, "I'll never forget this." Tonight, the hijackers repeated their demand for release of their fellow terrorists from Kuwaiti jails.
They must release immediately the 17 prisoners. Otherwise, the passengers are exposed to extreme danger.
The airport is surrounded by troops. A team of negotiators is on the way from Kuwait, and the Cyprus authorities have agreed to provide a limited amount of fuel. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
New anti-American riots broke out in Honduras today, and the government declared a state of emergency, suspending civil liberties in 2 cities. Last night, more than 1,000 demonstrators attacked a U.S. embassy building. They said they were protesting U.S. interference in Honduran affairs, mainly the arrest of an alleged drug tycoon who was seized and taken to the USA earlier this week. Betsy Aaron reports on last night's violence and today's aftermath.
It was the worst anti-American rioting ever in Honduras. There were 5 killed and several wounded. The demonstrators were young, mostly university students, and over 1,000 of them marched on the U.S. consulate, breaking in, destroying everything in sight, setting fire to over 24 embassy cars, and burning the American flag. They were in no hurry because no one, not U.S. Marine embassy guards, not Honduran police, tried to stop them.
The consulate itself, which is on the ground floor, is practically destroyed. It's effectively burnt to a crisp.
The violence continued for more than 3 hours before police arrived.
We do not understand the slow response. We are highly concerned over the threat this posed to American and Honduran lives.
A full day after the riot, it's still not known who fired the shots killing and wounding the students. Was it Marines, Honduran guards paid by the Americans, or the police? The violence was all to protest the capture and expulsion Tuesday of Juan Ramon Mata Ballesteros, the man American authorities are calling the major cocaine trafficker to the United States. There was a small march through the streets this afternoon. The chant, "Mata si, gringos no." In the newspaper, Honduras is being described as a country without dignity, reduced to being the spittoon of the United States. Last night, the strains in the mutually beneficial relationship were showing. Betsy Aaron, CBS News, Tegucigalpa.
The United States tried again today to tighten the screws on the military ruler, former Washington favorite, now accused drug lord of Panama, Manuel Noriega, the first of 800 U.S. Marines left for Panama on what was described as a training mission. And late today, President Reagan ordered sweeping additional economic sanctions. Eric Ingberg reports.
A month of U.S. economic squeezing on Manuel Noriega has not brought his fall, leading the president today to squeeze harder, with economic sanctions, not military action. Mr. Reagan declared a national emergency under the same law which has been used in the past against Iran and Nicaragua, and ordered a halt in all payments of money or other valuables to the Noriega regime by all people and organizations in the U.S., and a halt in all such payments to Noriega by all U.S. citizens and companies in Panama. The presidential order declares Noriega is an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security of this country. Officials at the California White House denied the new measures implied a failure of the policy so far.
I think that there has been a remarkable success so far in the economic efforts by the United States to convince General Noriega that he should leave, and that is the policy of our government.
The president, apparently heeding the wishes of the anti-Noriega faction led by ousted Panamanian President Del Valle, stopped short of a total trade embargo.
We're not in favor of trade embargoes because we feel that that's going to hurt the Panamanian people more than Noriega. But anything that denies funds, we will support it.
Officials say privately the new measures will not settle a major rift within the administration between the State Department, which favors tough military steps against Noriega, and the Pentagon, which does not. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Washington.
Israeli soldiers blew up more Palestinian homes today in the village where a teenage Israeli settler was killed 2 days ago. The army pursued its blow-up homes tactics, even though an autopsy report indicates the girl may not have been killed by the Arabs. Bob Simon is on the Israeli-occupied West Bank.
Every blast is another house reduced to ruins. The town of Beta continues to pay a heavy price for Wednesday's violence as more questions crop up about exactly what happened and who's to blame. The Army, which has transformed the high school into a combined headquarters and detention camp, expects to charge some 50 villagers with security offenses. Those are some of them blindfolded under the goalpost. But no one will be charged with the murder of 15-year-old Tirza Porat because the Army now believes she was shot accidentally by one of her Israeli bodyguards.
Because the panic after he was hit by a stone on his back, on his back, he opened fire, and maybe one of the bullets hit Tirza.
Military sources also admit that this guard, who was critically injured on Wednesday, was a trigger-happy member of a right-wing fringe group. One of the wounded Palestinians said he started running away when the guard told him to stop, which he did, and the guard shot him. Detainees were being released by the dozen today. They were told to go home and stay home because the town is still under curfew. Some might not have homes to go to. The Israeli demolition team has been busy. These are the faces of Beta's new homeless.
Till now, we have 12 houses ruined, destroyed by us.
Who owned these houses? Why were these houses destroyed?
You
13.
have the 13, yes.
And number 14 was being wired up as villagers watched, which is what they're supposed to do. This is meant as education. Number 15 was soon to follow. The village of Beta will go down in the history of the uprising as the place where the first Israeli civilian died. The result, it now seems, of a senseless, brutal accident, and as the first Arab village to lose 15 houses in 2 days. Bob Simon, CBS News, Beta.
Afghanistan rebels and many of their supporters in the United States are expressing their dismay and anger to President Reagan. They detest the deal he has struck with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. That deal today was reported ready for signing in Geneva. It calls for at least some Soviet invaders to begin withdrawing next month, but leaves the communist government in power. Secretary of State Schultz reportedly has told Mr. Reagan it is the best deal he can get and needs it if the U.S. election year summit in Moscow is to go smoothly. Afghan rebel leaders insist that it is what they call a sellout and that it hands Gorbachev a victory in a war that increasingly has been going against him. Still to come on the Friday night CBS Evening News. Correspondent Terrence Smith in Santa Barbara with the bottom line on the president's taxes. And Frank Courier in Elmwood, Wisconsin, where many folks have seen UFOs. Most believe in them, and everyone would like one to stop by.
Another day is turned to night. Close your eyes, say goodnight. Sweet dreams are on their way. All is well as you end the day. Sleep safe, sweet dreams, good night.
Sominex 2 has the one sleep ingredient doctors recommend most to help you fall asleep safely without worry. Sominex 2.
Good night.
Walter, this is Mother. Mother, Walter wants to use the phone.
Fine, right there.
Second-class phones, they're making second-class phones.
Oh, that silly phone. Use our AT&T phone in there.
For phones that work like phones are supposed to work, stick with the first-class phones of AT&T.
It's okay. It works.
Why do they call it heartburn? When it's me, your stomach, that's hurting. When antacids don't stop the pain from coming back, it could be an ulcer. It's okay, because there are treatment programs to help heal ulcers. If you think you have an ulcer, go see your doctor and ask about the available treatment programs. Sponsored by SmithKline & French, the ulcer experts. You could make your stomach very happy.
A federal judge in Washington ordered jail time today for Lynn Nofziger, President Reagan's longtime friend, former advisor, and now convicted felon. Robert Shackney has our report.
Ex-White House aide Nofziger, the first high official convicted of influence peddling in violation of the government ethics law, today became the first to be sentenced to prison for the crime. Judge Thomas Flannery ordered Nofziger to serve 3 months in prison and fined him $30,000. It was a minimum prison term. Nofziger could have been sentenced to 6 years, but it was jail time nevertheless, as the special prosecutor James McKay had recommended.
There'll be some bitterness, I'm sure, from certain quarters, but we did what we thought was correct, and we're satisfied with the judge's sentence today.
Nofziger was found guilty last February of illegally seeking White House favors for 3 private clients, including the now bankrupt WedTech Corporation. The ethics law prohibits such lobbying by ex-government officials for a year after leaving office. Nofziger was unrepentant today and bitter about the special prosecutor.
Because I would not knuckle under to him, because I would not cop a plea, because I would not say that I was remorseful, because I thought I was innocent. I think he set out to get me.
Those who support tough government ethics laws say the prison sentence, light as it is significant.
But it is very important for the public and government officials to know that if these laws are violated, they are going to be treated seriously. That's what this sentence does.
Nofziger remains free in his own recognizance while his lawyers appeal the conviction and the sentence. There's also the possibility of a pardon. Right after the sentencing, President Reagan sent a message. Lynn has been a friend of many years, the president said, and our prayers are with him. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Washington.
President and Mrs. Reagan's personal finances are coming under close scrutiny with the release today of their federal tax returns and continuing questions about a special Reagan real estate deal. White House correspondent Terrence Smith takes a look at the bottom line.
Critics of the tax reform bill always claimed it would help the rich, and it certainly benefited a California millionaire named Ronald Reagan. Tax returns made public today show the first couple paid less tax on more income. On income of $336,000 in 1986, the Reagans paid $92,000 in taxes. In 1987, under the new tax law that the president championed, their income was up by almost $9,000, but their taxes were down by nearly $6,000. Beyond his $200,000 presidential salary, the Reagans' principal source of income was from assets held in their blind trust.
Those assets will be available to the Reagans when they return to private life next year. But thanks to a highly favorable sweetheart real estate deal, they may not have to touch the principal.
This sprawling Bel Air house, complete with a heated swimming pool, was purchased by a group of Reagan friends in 1986 for $2.5 million and held for their use. The Reagans will rent the house for an undisclosed sum.
They're getting a very good deal. There's no question about it.
The White House insists the Reagans are paying full market rent, and Chief of Staff Howard Baker says the deal meets ethical standards.
That there was a full appraisal of the rental price of this property, that all of the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed.
The Bel Air house is not the first time the Reagans have resorted to this particular form of creative financing. When Nancy Reagan found the historic governor's mansion in Sacramento too dilapidated, some of the same friends bought this 12-room house and leased it back to them.
Well, they're the kinds of friends everybody would like. They've come through when Mr. Reagan didn't think he had a house or could afford a house up to his taste. They'd put in the money and buy one for him.
In Bel Air, the Reagans may just be tenants, but it's not your typical rental.
Elizabeth Taylor lives around the corner. Zsa Zsa Gabor lives up the street.
Not a bad neighborhood. Terrence Smith, CBS News, with the president in Santa Barbara.
And on Wall Street, analysts said that confidence in the economic outlook helped send stock prices surging today to close at their highest level since October's crash.
This is the all-new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, and this is the new Cutlass Supreme game going on right now. Game brochures are at your Oldsmobile dealer or participating McDonald's. Understand so far? Good. Play the Cutlass Supreme game. You could win an all-new Cutlass Supreme SL or $1,000 in cash, and you'll get a coupon for cash back on a new Cutlass Supreme. Game pieces are at your Olds dealer. You should go there. Any question? Good.
What's the best kind of fruit? The kind that's fresh, moist, and plump. That's why Sunsweet are my favorite kind of pitted prunes. Moist, plump, and fresh. Sunsweet, because the best prunes are fresh prunes.
When it's time to sell your home, you want action.
And that's what you get with the Century 21 Action Warranty.
My personal promise of service, in writing.
The Century 21 Action Warranty. One more reason to come with us.
For complete details, call a participating office.
Come with us. Put your trust in number one. Century 21.
Now for indigestion, gas. Introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus.
In Springfield, Missouri today, church officials defrocked television evangelist Jimmy Swaggart as an Assemblies of God minister for rejecting punishment they ordered. Swaggart was told to stop preaching for a year after he publicly confessed to unspecified sin after reports linked him to a New Orleans prostitute. Swaggart had this reaction to today's decision dismissing him.
I must regretfully withdraw from the Assemblies of God, understanding that they will have no choice except to dismiss me from the fellowship, since I am presently not in good standing with the fellowship.
Jimmy Swaggart. Today's stock market surge is just the latest in a series of generally favorable economic developments, but even with the cheaper dollar boosting this nation's exports, problems persist in the manufacturing sector, and factory employment has been stagnant for 2 straight months. Much of this is due to foreign competition, but some businesses say they are facing unfair competition on the domestic side, too. Bob Fall reports about that.
Every workday, the Colonial Flag Company goes through 12 miles of stars and stripes to make Old Glory. But here, where they should be seeing red, white, and blue, they're seeing only red.
We thought our competition was going to be either the other flag companies or Southeast Asia. And it turns out to be our own state of Ohio.
Specifically, the Ohio prison system, which makes not only flags, but tables and chairs, detergents, heavy metals, and more than 300 other products.
To run a safe, secure, humane, decent institution, you've got to keep inmates busy and productive.
It's not that they're productive, say critics, but that prison inmates are so poorly paid, just 8 to 30 cents an hour, prisons can undersell private competition.
For us to compete with that type of wage, it's very difficult.
The bosses aren't alone. Workers like 82-year-old Iona Massey and Elizabeth Hartley also squawk about prison labor.
I don't think convicts ought to do anything except be shark bait.
Workers of Ohio, take heart. Your cause has now been championed by an unemployed truck driver in, of all places, Fly Creek, New York, and by a union most people thought went belly up 60 years ago. The industrial workers of the world, the fabled Wobblies.
In the good old ticket line.
The IWW, which once said workers should own the world, now says since Ohio prisons are in business, Ohio should be forced to unionize prison workers.
They should be like anybody else, subject to the same rules and regulations. I mean, you want to play the game, you know, you got to pay the piper.
Polis has not only filed lawsuits, he has joined forces with inmate John Perotti to get 400 inmates here to petition the IWW to represent them.
For prison officials, the union issue is one big pain in the neck, which they say is caused by just a few troublemakers here.
They point out that a state agency has ruled inmates are not public employees and are not entitled to a union. They also insist no one is being exploited.
There are a number of states that don't pay prisoners any amount of money for the work that they do. We're not running a slave labor camp here by any means. I think that the fellows are adequately compensated.
But on the prison assembly line, a lot of inmates say they'd like to look for the union label.
They could bargain for us and we could have maybe a better shake of things here.
Otherwise, you end up working for 23 cents an hour.
Right.
I just feel like we should be getting paid minimum wage because we work just as hard as the ones who out there on the streets.
Prison officials scoff at that and continue building more prisons here with even bigger factories inside, repudiating one of the year's strangest alliances between the Wobblies of '88 and the businessmen of Main Street. Solidarity forever. Bob Fall, CBS News, Lucasville, Ohio.
Sometimes I don't know what to believe. What food's good for you, what's not. But I guess I can believe reports from the National Cancer Institute. They say some studies suggest a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer. So I made some changes, like eating Kellogg's All-Bran. Just 1 tablespoon of All-Bran has more fiber than a whole serving of most other cereals. Am I going to change what I eat for breakfast? You better believe it.
High-fiber Kellogg's All-Bran.
I grew my world record cucumber with Miracle-Gro plant food.
We asked world champion gardeners in the Guinness Book of World Records, which plant food do you use?
Miracle-Gro.
Miracle-Gro.
Miracle-Gro. Miracle-Gro.
I swear by Miracle-Gro. It's the best.
Hey, if world champion gardeners depend on Miracle-Gro, shouldn't you? Now Miracle-Gro is so easy to use with the Miracle-Gro no-clog feeder. Just drop in and spray on. So fast, you'll feed your whole yard in minutes.
Hey, Halpern, all set? Everyone's waiting in the conference room. Gotcha. Presentation booklets just arrived from the printer. Super. Did you want them all stapled shut like that?
Another senseless career crisis that could have been prevented simply by using PIP.
My doctor said Citracel is just as effective as Metamucil, but it tastes great.
Look, Metamucil's gritty, so it won't all go through the strainer. Citracel's special fiber pours right through. Citracel, great taste, no grit.
Fewer than 1,000 people live in Elmwood, Wisconsin, so why on earth would a tiny community like that talk about building a $50 million landing pad? Well, as Frank Courier explains, Earth has little to do with it. The impulse behind Elwood's project is out of this world.
At the bottom of a country road in a town tucked deep in the hills of western Wisconsin, after sunset, folks start seeing things they can't explain.
I could see the little legs on it, like little pods on the bottom.
It was a saucer-shaped deal.
When it got over the village, and it was gone out of sight.
It may sound outrageous coming from respectable Midwest dairy farmers and their neighbors, but no one's laughing in Elmwood, population 900, where everyone has either seen a UFO or knows a friend who has.
People call it the forbidden village in the Forsaken Valley.
With scores of UFO sightings here the past decade, and with inspiration from the movie Close Encounters, Elmwood townspeople are supporting plans to build a 2-square-mile landing pad for aliens, who some think are waiting for an invitation to make contact.
In our opinion, this is going to represent man's grand attempt here to reach out and establish a relationship with this society.
Businessman Tom Weber and associates have formed a corporation to raise $50 million for the project.
$50 million, and it might cost more.
On radio talk shows and at town hall meetings, the dream has attracted some cash, along with hundreds of letters and extraterrestrial sketches. At first, reaction in town was mixed.
If they're going to land, they don't need to put no landing strip up there.
This will be around here as any place else, I guess. If they're going to build something like that, why not here?
But all the UFO talk has made believers out of old-timers like Hobbs Wilson.
I seen it. I know what I've seen. I'm a believer in it.
While a few skeptics say the lights in this old limestone quarry may play tricks after 3 beers, it was here 12 years ago Elmwood claimed its first UFO encounter, witnessed by Village Police Chief George Wheeler, who died 2 years later, who told his widow Doris he'd been zapped by a beam of blue light from a hovering spacecraft.
I do believe they're from another planet. I really do.
The people here in Dairy Country who support the notion of a concrete welcome mat ringed by thousands of lights are not discouraged that aliens have ignored less ambitious landing pads elsewhere. Over the years, crude landing sites have been abandoned in at least 4 states, including Pennsylvania, where all that's left is a model of a flying saucer now ringed by trailers.
UFOs coming all over town here.
An interplanetary landing pad may be light years away, but it's no joke in Elmwood, perhaps the only town on Earth to host an annual UFO Days festival and parade.
I'm not saying they are and I ain't saying they ain't, but if they're going to be any place, they'll be in Elmwood.
A town where most people never have to cross Main Street to reach the outer limits. Frank Courier, CBS News, Elmwood, Wisconsin.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. Bob Schieffer will be here tomorrow. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
I get up early to capture the morning light, but sometimes my arthritis pain catches me first. I used to take aspirin or Tylenol, but today it's Advil. Advil contains a non-prescription strength of the medicine in the prescription brand Motrin. You know, just 1 Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin. That's important to me. And Advil didn't upset my stomach. It gives me hours of relief from minor arthritis pain. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
I wanted to sing the praises of Old English oil. However, they've asked me to write them on the wall instead. A sort of educational graffiti. There. Old English moisturizes to help prevent drying and cracking. It brings out wood's natural beauty in a glorious manner that befits my glorious manner. My chairs, my table, my desk.
Old English oil and aerosol moisturizes to help prevent drying and cracking.
It suits my vanity.
The #1 hit.
How fast can Ambisol relieve toothache pain? Before you can say
Ambisol.
canker sore pain? Before you can say
Ambisol.
Ambisol relieves minor mouth pain on contact. Ambisol, liquid or gel.
How can you help your home sell faster? Protect the major appliances. If your real estate company can't do that, then you're not listed with the right real estate company. Because you're not listed with an ERA broker.
Honored with television's most prestigious award, the Emmy for Nashville's most outstanding newscasts. Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
Coming up on Eyewitness News, Michael Michener ends his life, but the list of crimes he is suspected of